host, Hilary Herron, and today we have with us Melissa from Dusk to Dusk. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Hilary.
Can you please give us give us your title and what that means?
Sure. I am the, founder and CEO / do-it-all for Dusk to Dusk. So I started about 5.5 years ago now online, but I just opened the showroom six months ago. So, it's been a journey.
Would you call it a workwear or would you call it like women's fashion? How would you define it?
So Dusk to Dusk is a lifestyle brand for women in business.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, we do focus on business fashion, women's, quality suiting and workwear. But my mission behind starting this was really to go beyond the fashion and also create a brand that stood for something deeper than that. And I wanted to build community of like-minded women. Right now it's national, but eventually one day I want it to be a global community. I wanted to provide women with resources for professional development and just, connect women on a much deeper level beyond the fashion, as important as it is. And, it is important on many different levels, but I wanted Dusk to Dusk to stand for something more.
That's amazing. And your journey to there, you weren't born here, correct, in the United States?
No, I'm originally from Dubai.
Give us kind of your background.
So I'm born and raised in Dubai. I'll give you the very, very condensed version. I spent some time in Vancouver, but Dubai is where home is, and my most of my family is. But I moved to the U.S. to play college tennis about 15,
just a few years ago,
15-ish years ago. I met my husband there. He played sports. He played rugby for the same school. So after having my daughter, Fresno, became home away from home.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
How was moving? How was the transition from like Dubai to Vancouver to the United States? Or I guess from Dubai to Canada to the U.S.?
I did Dubai to Canada when I was little, but I ended up back in Dubai. I got recruited out of Dubai straight into Arkansas.
Okay.
So that was definitely a transition.
And then Arkansas to California. Did you see me wanting to ask that question?
It was Arkansas to Texas and Texas to California. So I've lived, Fresno's the biggest city in America that I've lived in. But Dubai to Arkansas was definitely a bit of a culture shock. But what I loved about it was, the campus itself was so diverse. Being a student athlete, we got community already, or we had, built-in friendships, with our teams and then other sports and things like that. And then being an international student, you kind of have, other resources and people. So being on campus, it was great. I didn't really feel that disconnect as much until really it was after graduating, we realized, okay, maybe it's time for something different. The actual city that school was in was, there was a lot of opportunity there, even though it was, small town Arkansas.
Smaller, yeah.
But it was great. I moved in the middle of the winter, which in Dubai, winters are a nice, cool 60 degrees.
I was going to say they're not snowy.
No, and Arkansas, we had snow and the biting cold, and I remember it was our season. I jumped right in, and not being able to hold a tennis racket and thinking how am I going to survive?
How do you want me to do this?
So but in hindsight, it was all it was all fun, and I wouldn't trade the student athlete experience for anything else. I really appreciated what it gave me and what it's given me. I got to travel a lot and meet a lot of people, and no matter where I live, I could end up on a tennis court and find somebody to So I really appreciate the whole experience.
I have a question about the student athlete / graduation thing, but before that, have you gotten into the pickleball trend? Because there's two camps that I find with people who play tennis. It is tennis or die, or they're all pickleball now.
I'm not anti pickleball.
Okay.
But I haven't even tried yet.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I I think I still want to believe I'm 22 training for something. And, every time I step out there,
something changes.
I'm reminded that that's not reality, but I just feel like it's just one of those sports that I will probably play for a lifetime, for the rest of my life. And like, I'm trying to pass it on to my daughter now. My dad was actually our coach.
That's amazing.
My brother and I. So we were that typical tennis family. It was, so I'm not anti-pickleball,
but it's not tennis.
It's not quite there yet. I'm not quite there yet.
So, okay, back to your journey. That's part of your journey. You get what I'm saying. What is your degree in?
I did mass communications with a focus on public relations.
Okay. Has that helped you with Desk to Desk? Has that helped you with kind of connecting people?
To be completely honest, I'm glad tennis paid for my school.
I feel that.
I think what I got out of going to school in the United States was the intangible experience of just being on a one-way ticket across the world and then having to figure everything out as an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Balancing a very demanding athletic schedule, school academics, schedule. And then, I always had at least one job during school. So I feel like it was a combination of those things. I enjoyed getting my communications degree. I had great classes. I think I got exposure into different things. I'm a writer naturally. That's just how I like to express myself. So it gave me a little bit of, insight on what that could be if I wanted to pursue any of those routes when it came to an actual career or something like that. But I can't say I really use that day to day for Desk to Desk.
But safe to say you went through school, you went through college, but when you graduated college, there wasn't like a direct path. Like you weren't like, oh, I have this degree and then I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do this.
And I think that's really where I struggled with, finding a degree. I knew there was a part of me that wanted to work for myself at that time. I didn't know what exactly that would look like for me. I enjoy connecting with people and I do feed off people's energy. But, at the same time, so at the time I thought PR was the right focus for me because I could kind of blend both the business world and that social aspect.
Yeah.
I always had this fascination with being some kind of a bridge or liaison between where I was in the U.S. and back home in Dubai. There's just so much business and opportunity in both parts of the world. And that was something that I know I thought about when I was selecting my degree and stuff. So,
are you doing that now? Do you source from there? Like, do you do any of that?
There is a designer that I work with out there, not at the capacity that I would like to one day. I still only sell in the U.S. currently.
Okay,
but we definitely have plans of opening up shop in Dubai first.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So I'm really excited to pursue that one day.
All right, that's really cool. So what has kind of kept you? Well, let me take it back. Have you had any mentors along the way, specifically with Desk to Desk? Because that's been your kind of full time for a while, right?
Yeah.
Have you had any mentors along the way that have been integral in helping you kind of grow your business or get to the next level?
I invest a lot of time and money into my personal development. Like I said, owning a business, you don't really learn what you need to know in school.
No, not even a little bit.
Right. So, this has been very much like a trial and error process and, trying to take from everybody, including people who, just sometimes they're customers,
Yeah.
And just drawing inspiration from them and just seeing how they do things. And it's been a learning experience and I just try to absorb from everyone. But when it comes to mentors, my dad has kind of been my coach dad since I was walking. And he has always had that insight, long-term vision type of insight and has always been able to, he would laugh if he heard me say this, but he's been right a lot most of the time.
We won't tell him, don't watch this episode, Dad.
So, I'm always able to kind of go and bounce ideas off of him. I did connect with this lady called, her name's Sunira Matani, who started off as a brand ambassador. And she built her business in the fintech space, and, you know, reached unicorn status, and, you know, really served as a form of a mentor in a lot of ways, especially a couple years ago when, you know, I was a lot greener. So, you know, I would credit her and, you know, what she brought to me, not just in terms of exposure for the brand in wearing my suits on stages and things like that, but I did learn a lot from her through her programs and, you know, the way she, you know, sets up her mentorship programs. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's when you're in something that you like haven't studied or haven't been in, but you know you want to get into it and make a difference, it's hard to know where to start.
It is. And I think, you know, I learned really quickly that you just pick one of the many ideas. And I think most business owners have unlimited ideas.
Yes.
And I think that's really where a lot of us get, you know, stuck because we don't know where to start or we don't know which route to pursue, what's the better route. And so I think if you just dive head first, you know, you'll either realize, oh, okay, it's time to get out, or, you know, you'll figure out, okay, you know, this is how I navigate this, and this is how I maneuver around this. And I think entrepreneurship is just test often, test fast, and then make adjustments accordingly after.
And safe to say, again, that having something that kind of connects to your purpose is different. It feels different than doing something, you know, than going to punch a clock. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah. I love what I do. It never feels like work. You know, there are very, very late nights and very early mornings, especially, you know, integrating family life and business ownership. And
time zones and all that
and all of that. And so, you know, I think it's just one of those things that I'm so grateful that I get to do this. You know, my husband and my daughter, I feel like they're on this journey with me. And yeah, I feel like if you get to do something that you love to do, it never really feels like work. And on the other side to that, I feel like, you know, as a society, we've placed so much pressure on finding what your purpose is, which has kind of, you know, I've done some reflecting on that. And I feel like we put so much pressure on that for the people that haven't found what that thing is yet, or if they're not starting a business that pursues a passion of theirs, they feel like they haven't made it yet, or they're not worthy of this life, or you know, whatever it is. And so I think it's if we're here, we have purpose, and how we get to spend our time is really up to us. And that's kind of been how I've kind of reframed the whole purpose thing. I love what I do, but I also love what I did before. And so it's just about like finding gratitude in what it is that I get to do, and then making the rest work, or figuring out how to get to a place where I am happy with how things are going, if that makes sense.
Like everything has an aspect of it that you don't like, and everything has aspects of it that you love.
Yeah, I mean, there's times where, you know, I'm like, why am I doing this? It would be so much easier if I just, you know, someone told me what to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I could...
And then you're like, oh my God, someone telling me what to do.
And then, you know, or collecting a paycheck every 2 weeks. There is stability, and there's so much that you get out of learning on someone else's dime, for lack of a better, you know, way of putting that. And so I don't think that needs to be downplayed. But so there are times where I'm like, this would be a lot easier if I didn't. I did this to myself, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
But you know, I think if this is what you're feel called to do, then you figure out how to, you know, make it work for yourself, and you'll trip along the way. And this is what I keep telling myself. You'll trip along the way. I haven't lost enough to be able to say, you know, I've earned my spot, or I've earned that W, and everything comes back to tennis and sports for me.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's a numbers game when it comes to everything. So if I've, you know, put in the work, and I continue to put in the work, and I trip and fall enough, then eventually I'll get to the point where I'm like, okay, I think I've made it, whatever that is.
I've heard this analogy recently, and they're like, when kids are learning to walk or babies are learning to walk, they don't just give up. They're not just like, nothing. I don't think it's for me.
Yeah.
And I try to relate that a lot to my own journey because I'd really never thought about it like that before. I've always thought like you just have to know when to cut bait.
Yeah.
But like, what if we did that as humans and we were like, you know what? I'm not walking.
It's not for
like,
me.
It's just not. I don't think it's gonna work out. So I think that having that perspective is important, and having like for you relate it back to tennis and how that plays out. I think having something to relate it to is important too.
For me, tennis was, it's an individual sport, which, brought a different aspect of, I guess, mental, my dad would call it mental training, mental toughness that you're required to play. Because once you get to a certain level, everybody knows how to hit the ball. He would say everyone's fit. So the only thing that separates the people, who really succeed in the sport are the ones that are mentally toughest. And having that perspective and having that to kind of fall back on ingrained in me, I feel like I really rely on that day to day. Because if anyone's worked a sales job where they've been get rejected daily, they understand, or you understand, like, getting punched in the mouth is just part of the process.
Part of the thing.
You're
just gonna have to take another one on the chin. You just turn the other side and hope that you can take another one.
Right. But that's what makes it fun. I think even just getting here today was
the whole universe is working against you.
But we're here, and I think it's going to be even more fun and even more enjoyable because it was so difficult to get here. You know what I mean? But on a bigger scale, I feel like the wins are sweeter, or like, the wins are sweeter when you've been through the harder times. Otherwise, you don't really get to have the perspective of what it would feel like if you didn't. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. And you're getting here today, kind of all the hiccups along the way leads me into my next question is, what do you do when you're like, okay, you know what? All the cards are stacked against me and I give up. I need to take a time out. I need to recharge. I need to rest. I need to do, what is that like? Building yourself back up. What does that look like for you?
I learned this a few years ago, just not very long ago, but after starting Desk to Dusk, that tennis and working out and sport is part of my identity to the point where if I need to get back to who I am, I almost look back to who I was as almost like as a child,
Right.
What did Melissa need back then? Yeah, just to come back to that. And so everything else kind of takes a little pause for a minute until I get back into a routine of whether it's working out or, playing tennis as often as I can. That's first for me. It gives me mental clarity. It helps just kind of boost those endorphins, whatever it is. And just it feels like, okay, this is the non-negotiable that I'm committing to myself the way I commit to everyone else and my business. I need to commit to myself in this way too. And
it gives you like a good baseline, essentially, right? Like,
right.
It gives you something that you can go back to. You're not constantly pushing. I find that for me, if I'm pushing too hard, I'm gonna break backwards. I'm not gonna break through. Yeah. I'm gonna break.
Right.
I don't know if you feel that way, but especially with raising a kid.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Having children, you have to model it for them, right? Like you have to show them.
Yeah.
Do you play tennis with your daughter?
Yeah. So I take her out to the courts, and I've had a tennis racket in her hands, and she started walking as well. I'm trying not to push it on her, so we go not as consistently as my dad had us going at this age. Right?
Yes, I get
but
it.
we'll get there.
How did you guys end up in Fresno?
My husband's brother was playing professional rugby.
Okay.
Down south, and he married a girl from Clovis, so we had family here.
Okay.
And after he graduated, we were like, okay, there's not much here for us in Arkansas. I think it's time.
And there's snow, so.
That was about 12 years ago, and at first I wasn't sure if this was the right place for us, but I'm so happy to be in Fresno now. It has become home away from home for sure. But I think it's one of those places where you can really grow with the city. And don't get me wrong, like after working for the last company that I worked for before I left the corporate world, I learned that there was so much business that comes out of here already that really doesn't, get the limelight the way maybe the Bay Area does or down south. But there's so much that comes out of here already. But I think it's still a place where you can grow with it. Mm-hmm. There's, all kinds of creators and small businesses thriving here. And I think that's because we're really community focused. Mm-hmm. So I really love that about Fresno.
It does have a really special sense of community. And, we feed the world, and I think we forget it sometimes. We all kind of get isolated in different parts. But I agree with you. I love the sense of community that we have here. What is next for Dusk to Dusk?
Really right now I'm focusing on growing our online platform. The focus has been on the showroom for the last several months. And so making sure we're not, causing any imbalance, because online is where, we reach more women. And I love that our Fresno girls get to come into the showroom and try stuff on, but really making sure that our online platform is, everything that it needs to be, so that way we can expand into other countries. And, in the not so, I guess, short term, we're also looking at manufacturing our own designs. Mm-hmm. Right now, we carry different brands and different suppliers from all over the world. And I see where the holes are in manufacturing, and especially women's suits. So after being in the business for as long as I've been now, I really think that being able to have some control over the creative process and the entire process of manufacturing would really hopefully alleviate some of those issues that we're running into.
Would that include design as well?
That would include design. Sizing is a big thing. That would be my dream. Yes. It would be a big, sizing is a big issue as well, especially when it comes to plus size suits, anything above a 14. And I feel like things start to get frumpy. Yeah. And I don't want to carry suits that I wouldn't wear just to, to make a buck, or just to have on the website to check a box. Yeah. So it's really important that the quality is even all across the board. Mm-hmm. And I just don't like how things are done sometimes. And, I understand they have reasons for doing what they do. But being able to have some control over that process would be nice.
I think that in that range, which is where I've lived a big chunk of my life, when you literally go from a 14 to a 16, you go into a totally different shape, even if it's the completely same color, same suit. Right. And then I've found that the stores that do offer it or even specialize in it don't offer any customizing or anything. So I've got like a train on my pants and it doesn't fit my legs, but it fits my waist. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing I can do about it except for go to like my own personal tailor. Right. Have you noticed that is a problem across the board?
I feel like, the minor personal alterations are inevitable to get that perfect fit. Yeah. I offer on most of the suits a different size blazer and bottom, which I personally need. Mm-hmm. My bottom size is a lot bigger than my top size. Mm-hmm. And
I'm the opposite.
Are you really? Okay. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's just really important to be able to get as close as possible before we do any, minor alterations. Yeah. But completely, just because, I'm supposed to be a size 8, I shouldn't have to conform into this size chart that's supposed to be universal. But you look at every single brand, everyone's, size chart is slightly different and it's become almost a psychological marketing tactic to where,
almost, I think it has been for,
for a long time. And it's so true because, with some brands, I remember one specific workwear brand, I wore an extra small. And there's no part of me that's an extra small. And I'm not saying I'm, plus size, but I'm not an extra small. But psychologically, if you feel like you're fitting this mold or this beauty standard that was set by somebody at some point in time, then maybe I'll have some kind of, subconscious affiliation or loyalty to the brand because it makes me feel good. Yeah. And when I have these conversations with women, because we do styling appointments and custom boxes, a lot of the time we spend discussing has to do with our mindset around sizing and the psychology behind it, and how we base our value and our self-image and our beauty on this little tiny tag that someone didn't even think twice about printing and sticking it on there. And some women will completely forego an outfit that would have looked great on them if they just went up or down a size. But because we're married to a number, we're married to a letter that we need to see, we only get to see that number or letter. Yeah. But because we're so married to that, and we have been taught that only these sizes are beautiful and attractive and should be confident and wear nice clothes, so many women are struggling. That's not for me. Yeah. And I want to be at the forefront of that and help everyone be able to say, because I mean, especially being a workwear business brand, our style, is part of our personal brand, whether 100%. You know you're building a brand or not.
You are. Every time you show up, you're your brand.
And even if it's not in business, you show up on a date, your outfit is saying something about you, whether we like to know it or not. And that's just human psychology. That's just survival. They way back when, that's just how they judged if, they were in danger or not by making some judgments on personal appearance. And as much as I would like to say, that's not right, or it's just what we do as humans. And so having some kind of control over that process or it's just expressing yourself, having fun with it, and standing out in the workplace, whatever that looks like. That doesn't have to be a bright green or yellow suit. I just mean, it can be in neutrals. It can be in denim, whatever it is for each person. I think it's really important that we use our fashion to tell our story, however we want to tell that, and to really understand that we are always saying something with our style.
I love that perspective, because mass market, you don't necessarily get that. You don't get that feeling. What really attracted me to Desk to Dusk initially, not only was, raving reviews from people that mutual friends, but the colors. So I would see people showing up in things that are colorful and different and elegant, and you don't find that. That's not it, especially initially at the time. It was a couple years ago, and it's a little bit more mainstream now. But it was incredible to see that, because that's something that I have struggled with, is how do I communicate who I am without having to talk all the time? How do I have a bold presence without slamming my fist on the table and, whatever. So I love that you provide that for people. Yeah. I love that you're going to continue to do that. Do you design now? Like, is it something that is fun for you, like as like a creative outlet?
I'm not. I like to make some minor customizations to my outfits, but I'm not designing just yet. All of my creativity or creative juices go right back into growing the brand, and then helping other women, style and get their business wardrobes in that box. That's been really the most fun, because I get to meet each person one-on-one.
Can you tell us a little bit about the boxes?
Yeah, I would get the DMs from customers. What do I wear for my first interview? Or I'm going to be on stage speaking to, 300 women. Like, what do I wear? And it was just something that I just found that women love fashion. They knew, it was important. They just didn't know where to start. And so we go through the whole thing on how to dress your body type for whatever your goals are. Some women want to look tall and slimmer. Some want to, look curvier or whatever it is, but staying true to style, professional is always at the forefront. And we just go through this entire process that almost seems like, everyone kind of discovers something special or
about like therapeutic.
Yeah, about themselves that they really never spend time on before. So I love having those conversations with each woman. It's like, just a 45-minute deep dive. And then we handpick items not just limited to what's on the website, but we have a lot more options for the boxes. So we build this beautiful box of suits or suit separates and dresses, and then either deliver or ship them out to each customer.
Are they different levels? Like one box includes 5 things, one box includes 7 things, or does it kind of vary?
So we have different tiers on pricing. So it just depends on what each woman's budget is. So just depending on that, they get a mix of items.
That is amazing. If you are seeing this on social media, we'll tag it. What piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
My gut reaction wants to say nothing. I think, every misstep has kind of brought me here. And I really appreciate all the lows as well. And there's been some low lows. But it's always been an experience that showed me that I was stronger or capable of more. But, if I was to pick something, it would just to be very clear on having expectations for myself the way I had, and boundaries for myself the way I have for my daughter. It wasn't until having her that I really put those in place for myself. And her being a girl, I feel like I learned so much about myself through her. So if there was something that would be it. Commit to myself the way I commit to others.
I relate deeply to that. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for your time.
Thank you so much.
I am excited to share.
Thank you, Hilary. I had so much fun.
My pleasure.
A huge thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their stories, wisdom, and breaking down barriers with us. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Your support means the world to me and helps spread the word about the amazing women paving the road less traveled in male-dominated industries. If you have suggestions for a future guest or topic you'd like me to explore, please reach out on social media. I'd love to hear from you. Follow me on your favorite social platform for updates and behind the scenes. Keep pushing boundaries, challenging norms, and lifting each other up.